All right, on the way to San Jose, as Champ likes to say. It's the return edition of Bettor's Last Stand. Matt here with you. I'm flying solo today. I guess I deserve that after being gone for 2 weeks. So hopefully we can get you some good information. Hope everybody had a good couple of weeks vacation from paying attention to the show. Those of you who are loyal listeners and watchers, we appreciate it. And it's good to be back with you. Chris and Coach have bocce. Luke's umpiring. Cooley's still winding down his teaching responsibilities and school stuff, or he's on the golf course, one or the other. But anyway, good to be with you, Matt here, Bettor's Last Stand. Hopefully you had some decent luck in the last couple of weeks, as we had some good winners we've been giving out on Twitter and social media. Chubb does a great job as always getting me set up to go. We got Sam joining the show here later. We've got plenty to talk about. Playoffs going on in the NBA and the NHL. We got USFL Week 7. We got Major League Baseball. Talk a little bit about that. Give you a couple of interesting trends that I found. We got the Charles Schwab in golf. We got the French Open starting up on Sunday, which I'm very excited about, in Roland Garros. And then we got a gigantic weekend of racing, starting with the Monaco Grand Prix on Sunday morning, and then the sandwich, the Indy 500, around 12:45, and then the nightcap, the Coke 600 from Charlotte Motor Speedway and NASCAR. So great weekend of sports on the holiday weekend. It's hard to believe that June is almost here, but we're going to get you geared up for the dog days of summer, which are here upon us quickly. It's, like I say, they're already the end of May, and it's not too far away before we'll be thinking about football. So I know everybody is excited about that, myself excluded, but no, it'll be good to have football back at some point. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Again, good to be with you back here on Bettor's Last Stand. Last week, had a couple of good winners. We had Brooks Koepka in the golf, so if you're following our picks on Twitter, at the Pine Room Podcast, and then you can see our BLS PRP Twitter. I believe it's BLS_PRP or something along those lines, but you'll be able to see it if you just look in the Pine Room tweets. We retweet a lot of that stuff, all the BLS stuff. So you'll find it either way. So at the Pine Room Podcast, contact at the Pine Room Podcast contact at thepineroompodcast.com. If you want to email us, feel free to call the show on Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday here at WKKX, as we will be on our regular hours. I'm back in the seat there for another week, and then we will be off again for the next 2 weeks, as I'm going back on vacation. I got to make the most of the time that I have a slow period over at my real job. So anyway, BLS won't be on for the next 2 weeks, but we'll be back and ready to go, and with you every single week up until football and through football, probably at least until the holidays before we take another break. So looking forward to that. Again, follow us on social media at the Pine Room Podcast. Check us out, WKKX. 7 hours a week now, 12 to 3 on Tuesday and Thursday, and from 2 to 3 on Mondays. So that's 7 hours of action. You can call the show, text the show. We're happy to get as much fan interaction as we possibly can. So looking forward to that. We have our big beer release party on June the 10th at Generation, so be sure mark your calendars for that. It's also the day of the Belmont Stakes, so should be an entertaining day down at Generations as we get ready to launch the Pine Room Lager. So exciting stuff, and be sure and check out the shop, thepineroomshop.com. Jubb put a bunch of new gear in there. If you're familiar with the radio show, you got Dan from Slobovia gear, and I'm sure there's going to be some Roy C. Mercer stuff, and probably some Father Guido as well. So those are some of our regular callers. But again, enough wasting time with that kind of stuff. We appreciate everybody who follows us and pays attention. So if we're redundant, we're sorry, but you never know when we could be capturing new audiences, and we're hopeful that we will continue to do that. So this is Bettor's Last Stand, the Pine Room Studios betting show. I'm your host, Matt, usually joined by Coach Chris and various others. Luke is going to be back in the chair here soon, and Cooley makes regular appearances as well. So you'll be expecting to see those guys in the coming weeks. All right, so last week, Chris went 4-3 with our BLS picks. I didn't have time to track everything, how we've done, but we've done pretty decently. Had some good AFL picks that I've been given, and as I said, Brooks Koepka at the PGA last week, a really nice winner for me that I gave out on the radio show, as well as on the Twitter and social media. Had Koepka, and then we had National Treasure in the Preakness, so a good pick there. Didn't pay a whole lot, so I'm sorry about that. But maybe if you had him on top in the superfecta, you'd probably come in with about $1,000, which is pretty cool. Yeah, just kind of similar to what I expected. The one horse ridden by Johnny Velasquez would get the lead and kind of control the pace, and he had enough in the tank to finish him off. Blazing Sevens coming pretty hard on the outside with Chad Brown, and now we await to see who's going to be in the field at the Belmont. So excited for the Belmont here in a couple of weeks, but we still got more. We got plenty of action, though, leading up to the Belmont. Coach 1-3 in his golf matchups last week, but he did have a nice winner with the Nuggets in the NBA playoffs, so they're already through, so that's a nice cashed winner. Last night's game, the Celtics were able to stave off elimination. They come back from a deficit, win the game by 17, so they're on to Game 5 tomorrow in Boston, which would be Thursday night. If you're watching this Friday, it would have been last night, so we'll see how that turns out. Right now, Miami minus 275, the Celtics plus 220 on the series prices. Game 5 right now, Boston minus 8, the total 215.5. I mean, if Boston, the way Boston's played this year, it wouldn't surprise me if they lose at home. They've struggled at home. They just seem to not be focused all the time. So, but you may get their best effort again tonight or tomorrow night. If you saw what they did last night, they played pretty well. So maybe they put together another one and get it back to Miami for a Game 6, and then the pressure starts to turn. So if you're interested in getting the piece on the Celtics at plus 220, maybe you want to get down on that right now. It's getting to the point where you expected the Celtics to be in this series in a 4-row sweep was pretty improbable, and it turned out it didn't happen. In hockey, we got a couple of potential 3-game or 4-game sweeps. Is Dallas, after a terrible penalty last night by Jamie Benn, which put them shorthanded, a major penalty, game misconduct. Vegas ended up scoring and then scoring shortly after the power play expired, so they were up 3-0 very quickly in that game. Dallas fans littering the ice in disgust as the game went on. Just a horrible all-around performance by the Stars. They've been outmatched in this series, which is strange because the teams are very even. But they've not gotten the goaltending we expected from Jake Ottinger. I'm going to ask Sam about that in the coming segment, on segment number 3 when we talk racing. He gave Ottinger out a great pick to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. If Dallas was going to win the Cup, and you figure they would ride him to the promised land, and he has not performed well in this series. So I don't know if it's wear and tear, if it's pressure, whatever it is. Vegas looking very strong right now. Florida looking very strong. 1-0 shutout by Sergei Bobrovsky, who is the favorite now to win the Conn Smythe, so at plus 210. So I think that's a pretty good price on him. Matt Tkachuk's going to take some money, and then Vegas has several guys who will be in the mix. The goaltender Hill, who's playing really well out of nowhere. Marcia Show, Eichel, these guys all have a shot. So I wouldn't say, other than Bobrovsky, if Florida wins it, he's absolutely getting it, unless you would see a Game 7 situation or something where a guy has a couple goals, similar to like a Max Talbot, where that guy comes out of nowhere and wins you the series in a win-or-go-home type setting. But Tkachuk and Bobrovsky, most likely Bobrovsky. Vegas probably has 3 or 4 guys that could be potential candidates. So we'll talk more about that as we get into the finals, which will probably be set up next week, the way these series have gone. NBA and the NHL, both pretty quick series so far. If we get some finish-off games tonight and tomorrow, we may have nothing for a while. NBA at least bought a couple more days as they got the Celtics through, as we just discussed. The Nuggets await the winner of that series, and the Nuggets are probably pretty happy right now. They got the time off. They want that series to continue to go. Those teams to get worn down, and the Nuggets will be pretty hefty favorites, especially against the Heat. Against Boston, it's going to be pretty even, but right now I trust the Nuggets. They're playing really well. They seem to have a really good mindset about them, so I think you'll see them take significant money, and right now with Jokic being the player that he is, getting the MVP in the Western Conference Finals, you have to expect them to be very tough to beat. And I don't know, it should be a good series regardless, and we shall see how things unfold. But it's tough when you get to this point in the leagues, and they probably want 7-game series or 6-game series, and they're not able to get them. So you have a lot of frustrations, I'm sure, at those various league offices, but this is the way things work, and you can't really, unless you're the NBA, you can fix the games, I guess, but most of the other sports aren't really able to be fixed, so we'll see. I don't really know if that's the case or not, but anyway, a couple bad beats from the other day. This one stuck out to me. I had this game, Pirates-Rangers on Monday night, under 9.5. It was 1-1 in the 7th inning. Things cruising along pretty well. Good pitching matchup. Pirates score 5 in the bottom of the 7th, so they're up 6-1. Then the Rangers get 1 in the 8th, and 2 in the 9th two off Bednar in the 9th. So they'll put it at 10, of course, and the game goes over. So 6-4 final, the Pirates win. So baseball, you can find these every single night. Just terrible, terrible bad luck breaks, whether they're overs, unders. You have games where they start out on fire. You have the first 5 over, and you need one more run. You get 4 in the first. You need one more. You can't get it. Same thing, late innings. You might be 7-0 in the 3rd inning, and you can't get another run or two that you need to get it over the top. So baseball, endlessly frustrating. It really never ends. I'm going to talk more about that in segment number 2 when we talk golf and tennis, and then racing in the 3rd block of the show. But and some things that are coming across sports betting landscape right now, in case you're interested. Multiple sources reporting that the NFL is investigating a second potential wave of violations of its gambling policies. And they didn't really say if it's players or administration or staffers or whatever it could be. Everybody is banned from betting on the sport. So I'm not really sure what it entails, but we'll look forward to seeing more of that. You're going to start to see these guys really getting hammered with these suspensions. But if you're a pro athlete and you're making a very, very good living, you would be wise to not be doing this. I'm in the camp to think they should be able to bet on the sports that aren't theirs. I don't see anything wrong with that, and most of them are able to do that. I'm not exactly sure of the policy for the NFL. Seeing this is pretty new. You really, Nevada was the only state you had to worry about this in, but now you got it in over 30 states. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that. Hopefully it's not anybody on any teams that I like, but we'll see what comes of that. But you're going to see more scrutiny, and I'm sure this is happening in other leagues, and it just hasn't been discovered. But we'll keep an eye on it. Sportsbook's very relieved the Lakers are out. They had a large liability, a lot of 6-figure and 7-figure liabilities at many of the big books across town, and especially in Las Vegas, you get a lot of California with no legalized sports betting. You get everybody from California drives across the border to Nevada to make their wagers. So you had a real big relief when the Lakers got knocked out by the Nuggets. As I said, it was going to be a very, very ugly bloodbath for the sports books, especially Nevada. Several other books, though, across the country, but Nevada really would have been hit hard because of being adjacent to a state that doesn't have sports betting, and so many Lakers fans in the area. It's a Lakers town out in Las Vegas, so pretty interesting stuff there. So they dodge a bullet as they normally do. Sportsbooks netted $17.6 billion since 2018, since the Supreme Court ruling, which legalized sports betting in all 50 states if they wanted it. $17.6 billion. That's not bad. That's a net. So you can just imagine what the handles have been. Giant states, New York and Ohio getting into the mix, Illinois. I mean, you have a lot of big states doing a lot of damage to these markets. It's been pretty cool to see, and you would expect more to follow. It's going to continue to grow in big states like Florida and California. Florida possibly in 24, so people are probably pretty excited about that. California continues to be derailed as the native casinos are putting up quite a fuss. We also have native issues in Florida, but they've gotten a little bit closer to working those out. So more to come on those. I actually have a good contact in Florida, and when the time comes, when we get close to Florida, I'll probably have him on one of our various shows, probably the radio show, to talk about what that unveiling is going to be like and what to expect down there in Florida, as the Hard Rock Seminole casinos, I believe, control all the rights in Florida for sports betting, and they expect it to possibly be available in 2024. The Westgate Superbook opened a really neat book at Camden Yards in Baltimore. So there's a book right there. They got an app in Maryland as well, which I was using while I was on vacation. Nice app, similar to the old app that we had at Wheeling, actually. I believe it's run by the same company. But, yeah, it's a nice app. Westgate does a great job. I believe Jay Cornegay, the director, was out there from Las Vegas, and they've got Westgate Superbooks in a couple of spots now. They got one down at Cincinnati, in Ohio, and then over in Baltimore. So good stuff. Glad to see the Westgate expanding East Coast. It's a really cool book, and before Circa was built in Nevada, it was the premier book to watch out in on the Strip. But Circa downtown now, the greatest sports book in the world. If you haven't checked that out, be sure, and if you're out that way, be sure to at least go in, because it's definitely worth it. If you like sports betting, you're going to want to see it. It's quite a Taj Mahal. All right, so a few other things. College baseball, we got that conference tournament week is starting off right now. I know Jarrett's pretty excited about that. You hear us talk about it on the show, on the radio regularly. We got regionals, the super regionals coming up later this month. Well, actually, not this month. It'll be end of May, early June, and then on to the World Series, which would be June 15th through the 26th. See if West Virginia can make some noise in the Big 12 tournament and then host a potential regional in Morgantown, which would be something I don't believe they've ever done. Wake Forest right now, the favorites, plus 350, LSU plus 450, Arkansas 10-1. Those are your top choices. One betting tip that I want to say, if you're not familiar with college baseball, if you like it a little bit, if you like it a lot, be looking at some of these SEC teams. SEC is widely thought to be the best league in baseball, and I don't think there's really any argument against that. They're loaded. There are probably 7-8 teams in that league that could win this World Series. So all they need to do is make it. So if you can get a team who can draw a pretty good regional, most of them will host the regionals this is the first round of regionals. So if they're able to put themselves in a good position where they're able to save pitching, advance on, and get some favorable breaks, if you can get a couple of these teams in the regionals to get through, all they need to do is make it to Omaha, and they're going to have a chance. So that's the key. It's really more about that, because the way baseball breaks and you have all these pretty good teams, you can see team like last year, Ole Miss and Arkansas, kind of teams that were not really under the radar, but they were mid-priced teams. I mean, you had those teams at 75, 80-1 at one point late in the season. So we're not going to get a price on anybody like that this year, but you can take a look at Florida at 12-1 right now, Tennessee 13-1. I'd also take a look at some of these teams who are pretty safely in the NCAA tournament who may bow out early in the conference tournament. They may be more focused on that. So you could get, Florida gets bounced, Tennessee gets bounced, South Carolina 15-1. Those teams, they may drift up to 25, 30-1, getting ready to enter the NCAA tournament. So by the time they get into regionals, it could be a decent price. Keep an eye on them. If you want to take a shot, I suggest you do that. If you're going to want to bet LSU or some of the other favorites, you may want to wait, but I don't know. I guess not. You probably are going to get a decent value on them right now. 450, as I said, on LSU, 10-1 on Arkansas. They're kind of the favorites. Wake Forest, the favorite, though, overall. But Clemson taking a lot of interest in that league. West Virginia currently sitting at 33-1. Clemson 36. Texas, who just took out the Mountaineers last weekend, 30-1. So start to get an eye, watch a few of these conference tournaments, get an eye for some teams that maybe you think have a little pitching depth and could be decent tournament teams or short series type teams. But you can get some decent prices on these baseball College World Series games or these futures, because there's so much, variance there. These teams are pretty evenly matched, and it basically is how the ball bounces, certain things. A guy makes a key play, a guy gets a key hit. Value's there to be had. There's not any team that's so good that you're not going to be able to, potentially steal a series or a game in the pool play, or however you think it can go. None of these teams are so good that they're going to be overwhelming favorites. So take a look at it. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, I suggest jump on it. Women's College World Series will be coming up next week, June 1st through the 9th. Oklahoma the favorite. Now, this is a little bit different. Oklahoma, a significant favorite, minus 170 right now to win the Women's World Series. So if you're looking for value there, I'm probably going to suggest you look at Florida State's been a perennial good team. They're very, very strong program. So I think you want to look at teams like Florida State. They can continue. They have a lot of experience. Oklahoma does too, so you're not going to beat them out there. Tennessee's 10-1 right now, but as I said, Florida State 6-1, Tennessee 10-1, Stanford 12-1, Duke 15-1, Alabama 15-1. Those are some of your top choices. The women's regional is still going on right now, so you still have some softball to be played there. So we'll look forward to that. Always a good tournament. I encourage people to watch it. The college softball, much more enjoyable to watch, in my opinion, than the college baseball. The games are quicker, they're cleaner, and these girls can play. So I highly recommend checking that out. But nonetheless, got some good things to bet on here as we head towards June. College sports winding down. These are the last two things on the docket for the most part. NFL. So we're looking at some of the NFL Week 1, some of the lines. We just wanted to mention this to people. I know people would sit here and tell you you're insane for betting Week 1 of the NFL right now. Like, why would you do that? And nobody knows anything. Well, that can also work in your favor. So you have situations where maybe you can get a better line on these teams. Maybe things are, for instance, the opening game on Thursday night. Maybe you like the Lions right now, plus 7. You jump all over the Lions, and then maybe the Chiefs don't look good. Maybe they have some injuries. Maybe their receiving core is not coming together. And then maybe that line drops down to 3.5, 4, and then you can bet the Chiefs, and you can win both ways. So I really encourage people, look through these lines. They're out pretty much everywhere. The week 1 matchups, if you like a team, take a shot. Things can change, yes, I know, and sometimes you'll get the wrong side of the number. But if there's a team that you think is in a good spot, whether they're catching points or laying points, and you think, boy, I would expect the public to be on this team, or things would, sway the other way or whatever. So, for instance, week 1, Indianapolis and Jacksonville. Division game, Jacksonville right now laying 3.5. Indianapolis, a lot of uncertainty at their quarterback spot. So I can see this line going up. Jacksonville is going to be a very hot public team this year. So you right now could probably play the Jags minus 3.5. And then by the time week 1 comes around, they may be laying 6. They may be laying 6.5. You got a field goal to play with in an NFL game. And as we know, all these points are precious, especially the key numbers, the 3s and the 6s and the 7s. Those are ones you want to try to get if you can. So then you jump right back in on opening weekend and take the 6.5 or 7 with the Colts. So you could win both sides of your bet there. I encourage people to try to do that if you can. I know it's tying up some money. But, if there's a game you really like, Packers, Bears, 49ers, Steelers, whatever. But if you think the 49ers eventually will be laying more, like say they get some good news in their quarterback, on the quarterback front, somebody's looking pretty good for them, or Purdy's back. Doubt he would be back week 1, but you never know. 49ers laying 3 on the road. Maybe that turns out to be 6 on the road, and then you can come back and play the Steelers later. So there's a lot of validity and kind of looseness to these lines. So you're going to see a lot of erratic changes based on training camp reports, based on injuries, things like that. So keep an eye on it. You can probably try to middle some of these. You can do the same thing in college too. If there's a game of the year you like, you get Alabama or Georgia, you get these teams laying 3 or 4 or 5 points, and then by the time that the game comes around, they're laying 12. So you can then take the dog or whoever they're playing. So you got games of the year out there. A lot of good things to look at and study up on as we await for football to be here, because everybody gets bored this time of year, especially come July and August. But there's things to be out there studying. You can be looking at division winners and all kinds of stuff, and we'll have detailed things here on Bettor's Last Stand when we get Luke and Coach back and start to dive into the NFL, going through the divisions as we did last year. But I just wanted to mention that you can hunt some lines down right now, get them at soft spots, and then have a shot of winning 2 sides of the same game. So that's always a spot as a bettor that you can't lose in. You can scratch out, or you can win both. So that's always a good spot to be in. So keep an eye on that. If you got any questions, contact thepoundroompodcast.com. And you can call our show on the radio anytime and ask me about that. I'll be happy to discuss. One last thing in the first block here, USFL. We're in the week 7 right now, and just some of the things that I got to be honest, I haven't watched a lot of this. I have followed the games. Michigan's lost 4 straight now by double digits after a 2-0 start. So struggles for Michigan. I'm not sure how good they are. They're catching 6 against the New Jersey Generals this week. So that could be a spot maybe for Jersey. Jersey leads the league in rushing, but they've also lost 3 in a row. So something's got to give in that game. And then Birmingham and New Orleans square off in a battle with the teams, or the league's 2 best offenses. So you got teams that can score some points there. New Orleans has grown a lot. They've improved a bunch since the first week when I watched them play Pittsburgh. So Birmingham and New Orleans, I expect some points in that game. So let's go through these real quickly. Saturday, Birmingham and New Orleans, a 4 o'clock kick on Fox. Birmingham, a 1-point road favorite, total 44.5. I'm going to be going over in this game, so over 44.5. And then the nightcap, Saturday night, Philadelphia Stars at the Pittsburgh Maulers. That game is being played in Canton. That's Pittsburgh's home field, I believe, for all their games. Philadelphia -2 on the road. The total is 40. I'll be going under. Pittsburgh continues to struggle on offense, and Philadelphia has not been very good either. So I'm thinking this will be a 17-13 type game, maybe 21-17 even keeps it under. I wouldn't expect too many more points. Let's go to Sunday. 2:30 kick on USA. Houston Gamblers at the Memphis Showboats. Like this game over. I think Houston and Memphis both have improved a little bit on offense, so I'm going to be going over there. And then Michigan and New Jersey, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. A 5:30 kick on FS1 on Sunday afternoon. Going to be going with the under in this game. Both these teams have struggled. Offenses have not been very good. The Generals could run the ball, so I expect the clock to go, and the under 43. and New Jersey's laying 6 in the game, the total 43. So I'm going to be going under in that game. So that's under in Michigan, New Jersey, under 43, over 42.5 in Houston and Memphis. And then the Pittsburgh and Philadelphia game, under 40, in Birmingham, New Orleans, over 44.5. I found it a little bit easier to bet totals in this league than the sides so far, as you're just not sure what you're going to get out of some of these teams. All right, well, that does it for block number 1 here of Bettor's Last Stand. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the Major League Baseball, got some interesting trends. Then we're going to dive into golf and tennis, one of my favorite sports, a very underrated betting sport. So we're going to talk about that. And then the final block of the show, we're going to talk to Sammy P. out of Upper St. Clair. We're going to go through the F1, IndyCar, and NASCAR races this weekend. Pretty excited about those. All right, much more to come here on Bettor's Last Stand. We'll be right back. Right along here on Bettor's Last Stand. Matt with you here. The rest of the guys out on various activities. It's a nice day outside, so I don't blame them. I've been off for a couple of weeks, so not a problem. I'm glad to take the reins and get you through another loaded version of Bettor's Last Stand. We're actually up to show number 40 now, so hard to believe we're winding down the first year here as football comes. We started this up in late summer last year, talked a ton of football, had you a bunch of season winners, and what you're going to get from us is you're going to get a real honest approach here about just betting in general. I work in the business. I've been around the business my whole life in one way or another, following it and just ensconced in it. Coach been doing it his entire life, so you have a lot of good insight here, and we're not going to sit here and tell you that we can win all the time and are going to give you out picks that are automatics. There's just no such thing. And anybody that tries to tell you that is obviously trying to fool you. But we're not asking you to give us money or send us checks in the mail. Although I think at some point we may try to start a service up. I feel like our plays are pretty. Our strong plays are pretty good. Our top plays are pretty strong. And I feel good about that. The problem that you run into with the sports betting landscape is the willingness to want to do it, or I don't want to say the willingness, but the desire to do it every day. And it's just not going to probably work for you in the long run. But if you're disciplined, if you have a personality that's not an addictive, compulsive personality, you can do all right at this. I do believe that, and discipline is the whole key. And, you're not going to hear that in a lot of places. People want you to bet. You see these betting commercials on TV every day, make it look so easy. And it's not. But the more you learn, the better you'll be. And you pick your spots. And if you have strong opinions and convictions and you are educated enough about the sport to have those, then I encourage you to take a shot, dip your toe in, invite some friends, try to teach them about it. Gotta have contests against each other. Practice your craft. Find out what you're good at. There's a new service called Juice Reel that'll kind of tap into all your apps, and it'll start to tell you where you're good at. Whether you're good at sides or whether you're good at totals or sides in basketball or baseball or whatever. You got all kinds of different things. You got future bets. You got all kinds of different options that they'll track for you to tell you, hey, you know what? I didn't know I was good in first 5 innings of baseball. I'm better at that than I thought. Or I absolutely suck at NBA totals. I'm not going to bet those anymore. So, yeah, I downloaded Juice Reel, been playing around with it, exploring it. It seems like a pretty good thing. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. You just log in with the apps that you have, and there's a pay service on there for advanced things. But as far as just tracking your info and your statistics, it's a pretty good tool and keeps track of your wins and losses. And I don't do this, but I've always wanted to is chart your bets, and Juice Reel will do it for you, because you may find things that you're good at that you didn't even realize. Golf outrights or golf matchups or top 10s in racing. It's like, wow, I'm 75% at these. This is what I should focus on because I'm good at these. But and then cut out the things that you're not good at. And that's the tough part. Watching games, got soccer on in here. I actually don't have any bets on these games. Brighton and Manchester City and Espanyol and Atletico Madrid. Soccer season winding down. You just can't bet on everything and win on everything. It's just impossible. So pick your spots. If you got questions, again, contact the Pine Room Podcast. Call into the show. Text, email, whatever you want to do. Get a hold of us. All right, so let's dive in here. Section 2 of Bettor's Last Stand. And again, we'll be joined by Sam in the final half an hour or so of the show. So a few things stick out to me MLB-wise. The Mets. They're starting to win a little bit, but they're not covering the run line, so that's still a concern to me. I'm worried about this team, their lineup. They're probably still going to make the playoffs just because, and if they stay healthy, if Scherzer and Verlander stay healthy, they'll probably be decent enough to just get in there. But I don't like this team till they upgrade their lineup a little bit. The bottom part of their lineup's just not good enough. I have no faith that they're better than the Braves or the Dodgers in the National League, and I think it's pretty clear to see that those are the two teams to beat in the National League. So I'm a little passive on the Mets. I'm not going to say I'm fading them or anything, but they're 0-6 their last 6 covering the run line. So just little things like that to stick out. Padres 1-9 to the over their last 10, and I think that was last night. So Padres really struggled to score runs. That's a team that I think will eventually get it on track, but their pitching's not been very good. I'm wondering if Bob Melvin doesn't get fired here soon because they really need a shake-up. They spent money. It looks like Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove. These guys just aren't stepping up, and then their lineup's not hitting. So trouble for the Padres. Hopefully they'll get it righted, but the Diamondbacks and Dodgers are going to have them buried by then. D-backs 9-1 on the run line, their last 10, and the Pirates were the team that took them out. So, but although they did win that series, the D-backs are tough. So they're a team that needs to be respected. You're getting good prices on them a lot now too because people haven't caught on. Them and the Texas Rangers have been two teams that I think have been underpriced, and you can get some value on the Orioles as well. People just aren't believing in these teams, and they're good. There's enough baseball that's played. We're a quarter of the way into the season. The Diamondbacks, Rangers, and Orioles are good teams. And I'm not saying they're going to win or they're going to make the playoffs for sure or they're going to win divisions, but these are good teams. And if you see them as plus money at home, with a decent guy on the mound, take a shot because they're getting disrespected. The Orioles were dogs up at Toronto last weekend and carried themselves very well in that series. They played the Yankees tough last night. Aaron Judge hits a home run off Bautista, who's been just great out of the bullpen. He struck the sideline anyway, but Yankees luck out there. Yankees playing a little bit better. I still have zero faith in them. Garrett Cole's not a big game pitcher. They don't have the pitching to win in October, and they don't have the lineup to win in October. They got one man, and basically when he's out of the lineup, they're nothing. Stanton's out. I'm not buying the Yankees at all. But that division is good enough. I think that the AL East is so good that these teams they could get 4 in. But as far as winning in the playoffs, I have no faith that the Yankees, and I know I'll be in the minority on this one, but the Rays, starting to see chinks in the Rays big time. Their lineup's not good enough. Their starting pitching is erratic. I mean, McClanahan's very good. A couple other guys, they'll get Glasnow back. Their bullpen has not been nearly as good, and that's where that was their bread and butter for years. Best bullpen in the league, hands down. It's not as good. Orioles got a better bullpen than them. Orioles starting pitching has been a little bit better of late. I am not a Tampa. I think the time to sell on Tampa's right now. I think you can unload against them right now. You could take a shot with any of the various teams, whether it's the Yankees, the Orioles, the Blue Jays who are in last place. It's kind of a revolving carousel. All those teams are good and over 500. So AL East up for grabs, I think, as we get closer. I'm not saying the Rays are going to be terrible the rest of the year, but I didn't buy that start they had. I thought they got very favorable schedule, and they're a good team. They're not great, and I think they're very vulnerable. A's on pace to be scored by over 600 runs. That's almost impossible. They're struggling. Their win totals, I believe, 47.5 this morning. I don't know if they can get there. It's gonna take a wild finishing, finish to the season for them to be able to do that. They've only got 10 wins, and if they got to win 37, 38 more games, seems unlikely. But you also got to remember, by the time July comes around, after the All-Star break, a lot of these teams are out of contention. They'll sell off assets, trade guys, bring up younger people. So the A's are going to have some chances. And, it's been tough for teams, even as bad as a lot of these teams in recent years have been, to lose that many games. So we'll see what actually happens with the A's. I wouldn't recommend a bet on that under. I know they're really bad, and they're probably the worst baseball team I've ever seen, but that's just... A lot of things can change here as we approach the All-Star break as some teams fall out. Rangers 0-14 in road night games when Dane Dunning is starting since 2021. This happened again the other night at the Pirates at PNC Park. They lose Dane Dunning on the hill. So the Rangers, who I mentioned, have been a very good team. Don't bet Dane Dunning on the road at night. That's the lesson here today. If you listen to anything or learn anything from today's show, that is what you learn. Don't bet Dane Dunning on the road at night. He must go out and get tanked when he's in these cities. I don't know. Something Dane better switch up. But anyway, that's enough baseball. Central Division in the American League is absolutely horrendous. Cardinals coming alive in the NL Central. Brewers, I don't think are very good. Pirates, fading. Cubs, Coach and I are high on them, but they're probably a year early. So we'll see. They're going to be inconsistent from time to time. And I think it's the Braves and the Dodgers right now in the National League. I just don't see any way around it. Astros playing great baseball in the American League. And some of those teams in the AL East going to beat each other up a lot. But when they step outside the division, I think you're going to see them really put it on teams. And if the Orioles could add a pitching veteran arm of some sort, maybe the Pirates will trade Mitch Keller to him. But I think they could be very dangerous. I know people think that the Orioles are inconsistent or they're too young to win. Their lineup is, their top 6 hitters are as good as anybody right now. And these guys are only going to get better. This isn't the point where guys are coming up and they don't know how to hit major league pitching and they can't hit breaking balls or so on and so forth. These guys are already ready to hit. So their lineup is exceptional. And I know that they don't get on TV a lot, so people don't know that. So don't buy into the narrative that the Orioles have got to come to the point where they're going to flatten out or take a step back, or they're winning games right now. That can't last. They're too young. They're too inexperienced. I agree with on the pitching side of things. I agree. Some of their young guys are continuing to improve. Grayson Rodriguez and a couple of the other really young guys. Even Dean Kramer's been pretty decent for them. They're gonna have hiccups, the pitching, but the lineup, they're not going anywhere. These guys are really, really good. So don't buy into the popular thought that the Orioles will eventually come back to earth and not be able to win these games. I think they'll be a contender the whole way. It's going to be interesting. Astros and Rangers in the West going to be tough. No one in the Central really would scare you. And then in the East, right now I'd have to say the National League to me should be favored to win the World Series. I think that the Braves and the Dodgers are better than anybody in the American League, for the exception of the Astros, who I still think once they get fully healthy, Brantley, Altuve get going and they get a little stabilized, they got some young guys that are working in the rotation, I think they'll be pretty good too. So lots to look forward to in baseball. We're only a quarter of the way through. It won't be long. It'll be the All-Star break. Yippee. All right, let's go to golf. Last week we had a nice winner with Brooks Koepka at the PGA. It was a great tournament, tough course, which I always enjoy. This week we got the Charles Schwab Invitational in Fort Worth, Texas. This is at the Colonial. Jordan Spieth, really, really good at this tournament, at this course. It's his best course. He loves this course. He's 12-1 this week. I would normally say I'd be in on Spieth in this tournament because he just plays so good, and the chances of him getting a top 10 or a top 5 in this are really, really good. But his injury, his wrist, is a concern to me, and I won't be taking a shot with him at that short of a price. I do think probably he's going to be a good bet if his health holds up. Scotty Scheffler, the favorite though this week, plus 450. He's a Texan too. He could be pretty dangerous here. I would expect him to be a tough contender, but as you know, I'm not going to give you the favorites at these events. I just don't think that's the way you go about doing it. It's going to be the U.S. Open coming up here in a few weeks as well, so keep an eye out for that. You got John Rahm, Scheffler, and Rory McIlroy, and I've said this many times on our various platforms here at the Pioneering Podcast and Bettor's Last Stand. I can't understand the Rory McIlroy love from odds makers and bettors. People continue to bet him at ridiculously low prices. He hasn't won a major in 9 years. He's not really threatened to win a major in a long time. And he's always the third choice in these tournaments. And he has lower odds than Brooks Koepka to win the U.S. Open. I find that ridiculous. Koepka should be favored in the U.S. Open, and you're going to get him at the 5th, 6th choice, 16, 18, 14 to 1. Koepka's back, and he's as good as it gets. And, I expect him and Scheffler. I imagine Rahm would bounce back after a subpar performance at the PGA. But do not bet Rory McIlroy. You can't bet him at that number. I don't care if you think he'll win or not. You cannot be taking 12 to 1 on him, 11 to 1, 9 to 1. That's insane to do. You're burning money. He is not going to win a major anytime soon. He cannot putt. He will do the same thing he always does. Yeah, he's a decent play. You know what the time to play Rory McIlroy is? When he has a terrible first round and you want to play him to finish in the top 20 or something when he's buried down in 70th place. Because on Sunday morning, he'll wake up, no pressure on him. He'll be 9 shots off the lead, and then he'll shoot a good score, and he'll get up in the top 10 or the top 20. And that's what he does. He's not a pressure guy. He caught golf in a couple of years when it was between Tiger. Tiger was pretty much done, and the new crop of guys was still a little young, and they weren't there yet. Rory McIlroy was just born at the right time, or he would have no majors, in my opinion. He's not very good, and he came along in a time in golf where there was a lull between the Tiger and the kids who followed Tiger and emulated Tiger, the Dustin Johnsons, the Jordan Spieth, the Justin Thomases, those guys, when they all came on the scene. So Rory should be happy that he caught that 4 or 5 year period where he was able to steal a couple majors, because I don't find him to be very good at all. Yeah, he's a great iron player and a decent ball striker, but his putting's terrible, and he doesn't have the mental makeup, in my opinion, to outdo anybody. So anyway, that's my rant about Rory McIlroy. Do not bet him until further notice. He needs to be. You start getting him at 25 and 30 to 1, like they're putting Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka going into the PGA. Then okay, by all means, if you're going to take a shot with that, I can recommend that. But 15 to 1, you should never be touching him less than 25 to 1. All right, on to this week, Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial. All right, so I mentioned some of the guys who were favored. A few guys I like. I like Collin Morikawa, 16 to 1. I think he's going to be solid this week. Sungjae Im played awful last week, and I had him. I recommended him. Unfortunately, we had Koepka too to undo that mess. Sungjae was terrible, but he only had a couple of bad holes, so kind of just lost all his momentum and didn't make the cut. He's 20 to 1 this week. He's played really well here. It's his 4th or 5th time that he's played here. He's still a young guy, still getting better. Form, I trust, is still pretty good despite a bad week last week up in Rochester. So we'll be taking a shot. He's my second choice. So I got Morikawa at 16 to 1, Sungjae Im at 20 to 1. And you can find better prices on these if you can. Hunt around for him. And then Justin Rose. Done great. And I got to keep playing Justin Rose because I've been giving Justin Rose out on here for a long time, and he's been racking up top 10s, top 5s. He played very well last week in a major. The caliber of golfer is so good right now. I think Justin Rose would actually probably be winning a few more tournaments, but he's got to win this year already, and he can play. And I like him here. He's won here in the past. He's going to be in the 25 to 30 to 1 range. Going to be taking him. Going to definitely be playing him in the top 10s. And then some of my under-the-radar type guys, Emiliano Grillo, 80 to 1, Harris English, 70 to 1, Christian Bezuidenhout, 70 to 1, and Cam Davis, I'm lukewarm on him. I think he's a decent top 20 play. He's 40 to 1. I don't think he'll win the tournament. But Bezuidenhout, Grillo, English, and Davis, all pretty good bets, I think, to be in the top 20, top 10. You can spread those around. And again, check us out on the social media landscape at the Pioneering Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We don't usually have the picks on Facebook, but the Twitter's where you want to find it. We'll put them up there, put the last minute changes, everything else that you need to get last minute. Jub will put the graphics up for the weekend, and as things change, we will add or subtract or whatever we need to do based on what's going on in the sports betting environment. So those are my picks in Charles Schwab. I think it should be a decent tournament, pretty solid field. As we get into the heart of golf season, I think it should be a fun year. He's still got U.S. Open in the Open Championship over in the U.K. to look forward to. So hopefully we can find you some winners and put some money in your pocket. All right, let's talking about going overseas. Let's stay overseas and go to the French Open. French Open tennis. really excited about this. Now, the draw isn't until tomorrow morning, so that's Thursday morning, which would be yesterday when you're listening to the show. So I can't really give you who I think is going to win the draws. I will put those up, though, this weekend, as the draw is Thursday, as I mentioned. The tournament begins on Sunday night, our time, into Monday, in France. So please be aware. Check out the Pine Room podcast and the Bettor's Last Stand Twitter feeds, as I keep mentioning, and you will see my picks. I'll try to have my favorite quarter and who I think will come out of each part of the bracket. So yeah, look forward to that on Thursday, and I'll probably post those, I would imagine, on Friday, and I'll have those up on the Twitter and Instagram. All right, so French Open, women's wise, there's a few people that are on the radar right now. You got Iga Swiatek, the favorite. Iga is battling an injury. She pulled out of the Italian Open, and I'd be a little concerned. She's minus 135 to win this tournament. That is ridiculous. She's struggling with injuries. Conditioning could be an issue. Yeah, she's been very good on clay. It's her best surface. But I think she's beatable here. Elena Rybakina has been fantastic. She won the tournament in Italy on clay last week. She's 8-1 here. Probably not great enough price to play her, but this girl is just getting better on every surface. She's a legitimate contender in every Grand Slam right now, so long as she keeps healthy. So she's going to be one we'll take a look at. Veronika Kudermetova, 28-1, pretty good clay court player. Paula Badosa, 16-1, good clay court player. Elena Kalinina, 60-1, good clay court player. And Yelena Ostapenko, who's played really well in the past in this tournament. So I think her at 20-1, she could maybe get through to the quarters. We'll see. See again how the bracket falls and how things go there. So we'll give you some picks on the women. I'll have match picks each week. Probably put them up on Twitter throughout the week, even as early in the morning as I can or whenever. So keep an eye on that. If you like tennis, if you want to get up in the morning and watch these matches, I highly encourage it. It's great stuff. Really, really fun environment over there at Roland Garros. Men's side, no Nadal. Nadal's out with an injury, so he is the king of clay. So you're getting a guy who's the heavy favorite most of the time to win this event. He is out. Andy Murray, also a good clay court player, he will be out as well. The tides have turned a little bit. Novak Djokovic is no longer an automatic favorite at every tournament as Carlos Alcaraz continues to get older and more mature, and he is the plus 125 favorite to win this event. I don't agree with that. I think Joker at plus 185 is still the play, so that's Novak Djokovic plus 185. I do not expect him to lose in this tournament, and I really think him to reach the final is almost an automatic bet so long as he doesn't get hurt. That's even money. You can get even money on Novak Djokovic to make the final. Again, we have to await the draw, see how things go. Alcaraz and him could be in the same side, so that could be a hindrance if they had to play each other in the semis instead of the final. That hurts that bet a little bit. Maybe actually makes the price go up if they do get paired on the same side, so we'll keep an eye out on that. But I don't see any way that Joker's going to lose this tournament, or at least not make it to the finals. He's just so good and the best guy in the world at rationing his energy in a 5-set match, which is what you have here in the Grand Slams. You don't always have that. Most of the tournaments are 3 sets, and 3 sets and 5 in men is so different. So keep an eye out. Nadal and Djokovic are absolute masters at saving energy, knowing when to go full throttle, knowing when not to, knowing when to just lay back and take the loss in one set to go on to the next one. These guys are just puppet masters. They're amazing how they do it, and that in itself is worth watching this stuff. Dominic Thiem looking to get back healthy, 60-1. Hopefully he can make some headway as his wrist injury continues to heal. A couple other guys worth mentioning in here. Holger Rune, I gave him out on here way back, maybe the US Open. This kid is really, really good. I don't know if he can win this. He's 7-1 right now, but he is getting so good as he continues to improve and just get experience in these Grand Slams under his belt. I expect him to win a Grand Slam, if not this year, come the hard court season, maybe at the U.S. Open, at the Australian Open. He's on his way to doing it. I don't know if he can win at Wimbledon, but we'll see. He's going to win a major here soon, so get on him before he starts to get down to the prices of Alcaraz and Djokovic. But Holger Rune, Rune, he's I believe he's Swiss, or he's either Swiss or Danish. No, he's Danish, I believe. Anyway, great player. Keep an eye out for him. Some other guys, Daniel Medvedev, really good player, 12-1. Clay court's not his greatest surface, so I don't think he's probably going to be able to win this. But if he could win his quarter, definitely. So we got to keep an eye on that, and he might be a good bet to win his quarter if he's anything around plus $2 or a little below that. I think it's worth a play. Stefanos Tsitsipas, very good clay court player as well, 8-1. He'll be a factor in here. Definitely a guy not to overlook. Casper Ruud, Norwegian, very good player, 16-1. Definitely a guy who could make some noise. Francisco Cherundolo, good clay court guy. He's 80-1. I don't think he could win this tournament, but he could definitely upset some people. So he'll be a guy that we'll be looking at in some matchups as far as individual matchups go. And then from the American side, Taylor Fritz is improving on clay. He's 100-1. I don't think it's even possible that he could win this, but you never know. Maybe he gets lucky, gets a good draw, guy pulls out, and he wins a quarter. So we'll keep an eye out for him. Yonex Sinner also 14-1 is a definite contender. All right, so before we finish up here and get Sammy on the horn, it's getting to be that time. We're going to talk a little bit of Aussie rules football. Since there's no one else here, I'll just talk about my favorite sport. Aussie rules football, just great games been going on the last couple of weeks. We had some really good showdowns, some teams that are starting to emerge as definite contenders here. Brisbane Lions playing great ball right now. Geelong Cats, I still think Geelong could be the best team here. They got some guys hurt, so they're a little banged up. They're kind of probably not very focused on doing anything but getting into, hopefully for them, the top 4. Top 8 make the playoffs, but the top 4 is where you want to be because you kind of control your own destiny and you don't have to worry about playing extra games and so on and so forth. So I think if they can get it to the top 4, they're going to be pretty happy. But 6-1 right now on Geelong is a pretty good price. Collingwood right now is at the top of the ladder, and Collingwood's good, 9-1, but they've not played a great schedule, so they've been very, very lucky to play the schedule that they played to start the season. They got 9 wins. They are good, don't get me wrong, but they're very beatable, and I don't love them as the favorite to win the grand final at 3-1. As I mentioned, Brisbane playing good football right now. They're getting a little bit better. They got a better ruckman this year, and they're a little better on the road, so I think that helps them a lot. They're usually a team you would only want to back at home. Very drastic difference between home and away for the Brisbane Lions most of the time, but this year they're a little bit better, and I'll be possibly looking to make a bet on them. I think they've got a nice team, and they could be dangerous come finals time. So we shall see. All right, Friday night we started off the Carlton Blue Bombers and the Sydney Swans. Carlton's 2-8 in this rivalry since 2010, and Sydney, as I say, 11-4 versus the Blues since 2005. So Sydney's had the better of the matchup here. Both the teams need this. Carlton 4-5-1, Sydney 4-6. So this is going to be a tightly contested game. Sydney was very lucky to have beaten North Melbourne, who's terrible last week. The Swans are not playing very well. I don't really like Carlton either. I'm going to go under in this game, so 168. Again, I'll have all these on the Twitter page if you don't want to write them down. Next game, Hawthorn St Kilda. Hawthorn 2-8, St Kilda 7-3. St Kilda's not been quite as good. They got off to that great start, but they're kind of coming back to earth. They're a good team. They're probably a playoff team or a finals team, but they're not really as talented as you would think. They're much improved from last year, though. So I'm going to take a shot here with the game over the total of 162.5, and I'm going to play the Saints minus the 27.5 against Hawthorn, who is not very good. They had a win last week. They played West Coast, who is just absolutely atrocious. So I don't think Hawthorn gets it back in the win column this week. 27.5, I think, is not enough. St. Kilda defense alone, they should be good there and win that game. Saturday's games. Fremantle and Melbourne, the Demons. Demons have impressed me. They're a pretty good team. They lost a really close game last week to Port Adelaide, but really good showdown. I mean, it was two teams that are definitely going to be in the finals and going to make some noise. Melbourne minus 20.5, total 170.5. I'll be going with the Demons here. I'm not a Fremantle guy. I don't think they're quite as good as they were last year. Melbourne 7-3, Fremantle 5-5. I'll be backing the Demons minus 20.5. GWS in Geelong. Geelong at home here. They're minus 36.5. And the total's 175.5. GWS, they're a little better. They're a team that can probably cover some spreads right now, but overall, talent-wise, they lack it. Geelong's starting to get a couple of their guys back. They got Dangerfield back, but he wasn't 100% last week. They got a couple of their guys that are supposed to be back in the lineup this week. So I'm going to take a shot, maybe a play on the Cats, but I don't love it. They do play better at home, so I think their crowd will be into it and they'll be ready to go. I like the over in the game. Cats defense hasn't been a really good area of concentration for them. They've let a lot of bad teams score points on them. So over 175.5 is where I'm going to go with my strongest play in that game. Western Bulldogs at the Gold Coast Suns. Western 7-3. They've been a team that I've been impressed with. They're solid and they're scrappy. Maybe not that talented, but don't ever count them out. Gold Coast, I tipped them to make the finals preseason. I don't love it, but I'm not saying they're not out of it yet. They're 4-6. They're getting back towards 500, so they got some, an opportunity to maybe stick around here in the battle for a playoff spot. They got a strong defense. Western has played well defensively as well, so I'm going to be going under in this game, under 158.5, and probably lean towards the doggies minus 10.5 on the road, but I don't love that play, so I probably won't recommend that. But again, I'll have these on the social media, so you can check them out if you're interested in playing them. All right. Also on Saturday morning, 5:40 a.m. our time, 5-5 Essendon Bombers and the 1-9 West Coast Eagles. Essendon minus 52.5, total 170.5. You got to play the Bombers here. You can never play West Coast. West Coast has had just a horrible season. Essendon's played a tough schedule. Their team, I think, is a little bit underrated. They're average right now. They're 500 record, but they're not bad, and I think that they'll start to beat up on these lesser teams. And West Coast doesn't get any lesser than West Coast. West Coast catching 52.5 at home. I just don't see how they hang in this game. I'll be all over the Bombers in this one, and I like the over 170.5. So. All right, and then a Saturday night game, 11:10 p.m. our time. Port Adelaide, the Power at the Richmond Tigers. The Power minus 2.5 on the road. Tigers, their coach just resigned. They've been a mess. They've had a lot of issues. They're not very good this year. I like this game under a lot. I'd recommend probably Port Adelaide too, but a little bit worried about the emotional element here, as Richmond's going to play really hard, I think, for the new skipper that takes over. So you may get a really good effort out of them, and they are a lot better at home. So for years, Port Adelaide struggled on the road, but they're a little better. They're an even team here at 8-2. I think they're good, but I'll be passing on them right now and probably just going with the under in that game. That's 167.5. All right, then two matches Sunday. North Melbourne Kangaroos at 2-8 at the Collingwood Magpies. Collingwood minus 54.5. The total 164.5. North Melbourne played really hard last week. They haven't been very good on the road, so they do play a little bit better at home. They could possibly cover some spreads. I'm not going to lay the 54.5 with Collingwood. I don't love them, as I said. I think they're good, but not great. I like the game under. Collingwood defense is good, so under 164.5 there. And then the conclusion, 2:40 a.m. Sunday morning, the Brisbane Lions, the Adelaide Crows. Sneaky good game. The Lions have won the last 4 in this matchup, and they've won 7 straight on the season. So Lions are playing great football right now. They're minus 5.5 on the road. The total 171.5. And normally I would not recommend a play on Brisbane or a play on the over when Brisbane's on the road, but they've corrected that. They've been winning a lot of the jumps with their ruckman, and they're getting the ball a little bit more than they did last year. And they don't necessarily have to feed off the home crowd as they always have. They're better on the road, so I'm going to take a shot here and lean with the over 171.5. And I have a sneaking suspicion Adelaide will give them some trouble, although the Crows have been very hard to figure out so far this year. So I'll be passing on the side, but lean Adelaide a little bit, but like the over 171.5. All right, so that does it for Section 2 of Bettor's Last Stand, or Segment 2, whatever you prefer, as we talked baseball, golf, tennis, and Aussie Rules football. Now we're going to take a break here and come back with Sammy P and talk racing. We haven't talked to Sam in a couple weeks. Be anxious to get his insights and analysis on the F1 Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, and the Coke 600 in NASCAR. Still a lot left here on Bettor's Last Stand. Stay with us. We will be right back.
Reminder, Bettor's Last Stand is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activities should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. You're watching Bettor's Last Stand.
All All right, welcome back in. Bettor's Last Stand. Matt here with you. Episode 40, hard to believe. Back after a 2-week hiatus, and got the man from Upper St. Clair, Mr. Sammy P's with me. He's back, ready to go. Hopefully you were on him last week as he had Kyle Larson in the All-Star event at North Wilkesboro, so that was a good winner. Sam, welcome back to the show. How's everything going up there?
Things are wonderful. How are things down there?
Good. Just hoping the Buccos can keep it together, but another one, tough one today again. So
I tell you what, we are in the high weeds with this one, Matt.
Yeah.
It is like so bad right now, and our division's awful. We'll get into it, but God, our division sucks.
Yeah, and that gives you a little bit of hope. But I told Jarrett, and we were talking about on the radio the other day, it just seems like the Pirates are going to continue to just lose these series. They're going to win one game every series, which is better than getting swept, which is probably what they would have done last year. But they're just, I don't know, they're just starting to come down to earth, and it was kind of expected, I guess, from people who watch the team every night.
Yeah, but it's just, they hit earth hard.
Yeah. You're right. Probably like one of those meteors that came through somebody's house up in New Jersey a couple weeks ago. But yeah, it's not pretty. Just before we get into the racing, so as I told the listeners, we got a loaded racing card this week. Finally get F1 back, and then we got obviously the Indy 500 and the Coke 600. It's a great weekend. We're excited about it. We're going to talk a ton about that here in a second. But let me get your thoughts on baseball right now. Obviously, NL Central. Not going to be a very good division. Cardinals coming alive. Brewers, I don't think are good, which we didn't think they were very good, so that makes sense. Cubs probably a year early for them, and the Reds, they'll be scrappy. But yeah, it's not a very good division. But do you think the Pirates can contend here and hang in here at all, or are the Cardinals going to end up being the team?
I think the Cardinals are the team, but I have the smallest bit of hope. Just like you said earlier, our division is so bad.
Yeah.
So that's like, relying on other teams to get us in the playoffs is kind of where we're at, if that's even a possibility. But people on the local radio here, they're calling in like, oh, if we can get 75 to 76 wins, 16, 15 more than last year, then that's great. Well, no, it's not.
No, it's not. And
good.
I really actually would be curious to see how they'd be doing if O'Neal Cruz didn't get hurt on Easter. As we recall, when Aunt Kim's house would get there and he gets hurt sliding. I think early on, it didn't seem like they missed him, but long term, a guy that talented, they're going to miss. So
Matt, it is bad. They covered for him for a little bit, but
these guys that are role players that play twice a week are now having to play 6 times a week, and you're not able to account for that. You just can't make up for losing a superstar like that. Mitch Keller's done all he could. You were at the game when Mitch pitched last time. Observations: why the hell did they take him out?
Arm slot, Matt. So I have the clip. I sent it to Jarrett. I listened to it on the radio. Derek Shelton said he hit the guy and he gave up a hit, and he noticed his arm slot was in a different spot. And then he said he hasn't pitched out of the stretch.
Right. I heard that comment too.
Professional baseball player.
Right. I heard that comment too, and then I found that was weird because when you start the inning, he doesn't have to pitch from the stretch. So at least you could have let him get into another jam before you got him out. But yeah, questionable decision there, but.
Terrible.
How was the game overall? Did you and Bonnie have a good time?
Yeah, the game was good, but it's just like these players that are filling in to just make up for the spot of Cruz. They're not good, and it's like last night. Sawinski stinks in center.
Oh God,
Bay can't run. Dwayne Underwood Jr. I scream to the high heavens when I see 56 coming in.
Yeah. Well, I thought Bay's been going to the Gregory Polanco base running school.
Oh, man. Matt, you're right. It's just...
Yeah. You can't have... You just... When things are going well, you can overcome some of those mistakes, but when they're not, you cannot make those mistakes. A team with this kind of talent, marginal talent, and it's going to stick out, and they're going to get beat. Teams are starting to you're starting to show who they really are at this point, a quarter of the way into the season.
Yeah. I mean, we get complete game for Evaldi yesterday. We have no offense. I have no clue what happened to our offense.
Yeah. I mean, Kutch was looking like an MVP a few weeks ago or a month ago, but he's showing that he's old now. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's not terrible, but they're going to have some interesting decisions to make come trade deadline time, whether they think that they're in the mix to actually make it, or they're going to try to acquire some pieces for next year, not necessarily for this year, and be sellers, because that might be the smartest thing they can do, is not not try to force it this year and continue to be ready for maybe next year being the year to make their return, but we shall see. Any other observations? Obviously, the AL Central is the only division that's probably worse than the NL Central.
Yeah, aren't they good, huh?
Horrendous. AL East continues to be good. Rays coming back to earth a little bit. Orioles playing really well. Yankees starting to kick it in gear. Mets are winning some games, but man, they're not covering run lines, and I don't know. I still worry. Any of those big market clubs that are a concern to you, or anybody that you like going right now?
The Yankees. The Yankees were in last the last time we talked. They're 30-20 now. My Adley Rutschman MVP is slowly fading because Aaron Judge is just hitting the shit out of the ball again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, everything's kind of evened itself out. The teams that were good that started are bad. The teams that were not good,
and then a few of the teams that we probably didn't expect to be great are hanging around here. Orioles are one of them. You can't underestimate that lineup. These guys are. I was talking about it earlier. The Orioles lineup is good enough now. You can't just say like, "Oh, this team's young; they'll eventually come back to earth." Their lineup is legitimately right up there with most of the teams in Major League Baseball as far as the better lineups. They're going to hit. They're going to continue to hit. I mean, no doubt. If they get pitching, they're going to be right in the mix to make the playoffs for sure. And then the Texas Rangers, another team.
Oh, I know.
They're playing good baseball. They got stabilized manager now. They seem like if they can get DeGrom healthy, they'll be a team that's going to be tricky, and they could definitely make the playoffs.
And like the fact that the AL Central is the Tigers are in second place in 21-25, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Shoot me.
It's ugly. Astros starting to play decent baseball right now, so you have to expect them. Diamondbacks playing well, and then the Dodgers, a team that we probably all kind of were like, well, they'll be good, but not as good. They've been great. They've been really good. And right now, if you have to pick, most likely you're thinking Braves and Dodgers in the National League right now is probably the two best teams. Does that sound right to you, or is there anybody else that you think is up there with those two teams?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not the Braves, it's the Mets. But like the Marlins, Phillies, Nationals, I don't think that they're any bit of a threat. The Mets, I think they're just going to fuck it up like they always do, honestly.
Yeah, they will. And again, like I was mentioning, if they keep Verlander and Scherzer healthy, they're probably just going to make the playoffs by default because I don't think the National League is as deep this year. But I don't know. I don't trust them. I don't think their lineup's quite good. But the thing is, their billionaire owner, he's probably going to make a few moves. So they may end up with Ohtani. It's very possible. So you never know. Can't count them out. But yeah, I agree. They're going to have the finances and the wherewithal to acquire some parts to try to make a run. So yeah, I don't think you can discount the Mets. And how about the Padres? How disappointing have they been? I'm keep waiting for them to kick it in gear. I think they're going to have to fireball Melvin. They're going to have to do something to change things up. But Blake Snell, oh God, horrible.
I thought that when Soto went there that was a terrible move.
Right.
I don't think Soto's that good.
Yeah, no, you were onto that. You called that early. I think most people were going to say that the Nationals won that trade for sure as it continues to, come about and those guys mature and get better, those great prospects they got. But yeah, I agree. I think Soto maybe, caught lightning in a bottle. He had that good playoffs when he was really young. And, maybe he just isn't that good. There's a lot to be said there.
Yeah, I mean, how old is he? Let's see here. He's
still young. But
he's 24.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a lot of money they owe that guy.
I know. Well, he better get better quick because they're taking on water, and the Diamondbacks are better than them, and obviously the Dodgers. So, could be a long year for the Padres, but I expect them to shake it up here. I think they'll have to fire somebody or trade somebody because they can't. Their owner was like going all in, like he was like, "Oh, Soto is the last piece we needed to win it all." Like he's a few pieces away right now, so they're going backwards instead of forward. All right, let's jump over to NBA. LeBron out, Nuggets in the finals. Celtics clinging to life, but they win last night. What are your thoughts? Did they have anything for the Heat? Do you think it gets back to Miami for a sixth game? And is there any chance the Celtics actually do come back and win this?
I don't think the Celtics can come back.
Yeah, I agree.
And they were my pick. I have to stand strong. I'm not going to run away from it. I did like the Celtics, but I think the Heat are just better. They got Jimmy. Bam Adebayo's a beast.
And their coach has been just phenomenal. Yeah.
I know, but then it's like Tatum could just put up like 50 and then just series is 3-2.
Yeah, it's it's definitely interesting. You got Spoelstra versus Missoula, which is a serious mismatch. I mean, but Boston, they're so much deeper, so much just more proven roster. I mean, it's just like the guys don't want to be there some nights, and I can't figure out why. It's the damn conference finals, and it takes you till game 4 to actually put up a decent effort. What the hell is that?
It's concerning.
Yeah, it is, and I don't know if it's hard to just blame Missoula for this. I mean, I'm sure a coach with a little more experience may have some things to go to, when things aren't working. But these players have got to be accountable at some point. And I don't know. I agree. I think maybe they force it to 6, but the Heat will be ready. They're not gonna back down now. But it'll be interesting. What if the Heat go on to play the Nuggets? Obviously, Nuggets are going to be a heavy favorite. Do you think that's a series that's going to be long, or do you think the Nuggets take care of them pretty easily?
I think 5 or 6, the Nuggets would win.
Yeah.
Nuggets are good.
They are. Jokic is just awesome to watch. He's a really fun player to watch.
And Murray's honestly, he's a huge step.
Yeah, he's taken the jump to. He always used to remind me of the guy who was just like, well, he'll score 35 or 40 when they'll get beat. But now he's like a guy who's got like the killer instinct gene late in the game, where he's able to make big shots now. I think he's definitely matured in that area.
Yeah, I think they're pretty deep too.
Honestly, yeah, they are. They got some nice. They got some nice bench players. Yeah, I think they're a worthy finals team right now. I don't think that's a fluke by any means. And L.A. hung in there every one of those games. They could have won several. That series could have won 7 games. But yeah, just the way it was, all the games were pretty close. But yeah, the Nuggets just played better in crunch time. Yeah,
pretty much. Sorry, LeBron.
Yeah, I know. I'm loving that. Do you think Mr. All About Me is going to retire? I mean, he didn't wait very long to make it about him after the game.
Yeah, like 8 seconds that report came out. I don't think he's going to retire because he's only said for 5 years he wants to play with his son. And
Bronny,
his son has 1 year of college and he can get drafted. I think LeBron's going to be back.
Yeah, and I saw they were putting up odds of where he's going to go, and like the Knicks were the favorite. And I don't think he'll go to the Knicks because I don't think he'll go anywhere where there's not another superstar. And Brunson's a good all-around player, but he's not a superstar. LeBron's not good enough anymore to carry the team. He's got to be like the number 2. Like he was with Davis. But yeah, I think he'll be back too. He just wants people to talk about him, kind of like Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. He wants to stay in the news as long as he possibly can. All right, let's go to hockey now. Geez, we keep getting these lopsided series. So Carolina and Florida, every game's been tight. I mean, games are going to overtime. The last game was 1-0. Honestly, Carolina could be up 3-0. So it's just weird how that goes. And then last night, Dallas just comes apart at home. Terrible penalty by Jamie Benn. I don't know what he was doing. He was literally trying to kill a guy.
Literally trying to kill him.
Collapses his windpipe on the ice. And Dallas just goes nuts. Their fans go nuts. They have a total meltdown. And now they're buried 3-0. Is there any way back for either one of these teams, Dallas and Carolina? Or is it, maybe win one game and then get on to the finals with the Knights and the Panthers?
I think Dallas could maybe win one. Vegas is deep. They're talented. Yeah. They're definitely going to take the series. But for the Florida-Carolina, Carolina ran into a hot goalie.
Yes, Bobrovsky.
He's just, Matt, it's unbelievable what this guy's doing.
Yeah, ever since he can escape the Penguins. The Penguins were in his head big time when he played for Columbus. He was always really good, but he could never get over the hump. And I got to give the guy credit. He's been outstanding. I mean, he's been just great. So, who would have thought, right? Panthers had a great record last year, best team in hockey, struggled this year. And if the Penguins don't blow that game to the Blackhawks, they're not even in.
Unbelievable. It's embarrassing, man.
Yeah, so now I hear that Kyle Dubas guy's up in Pittsburgh today, apparently. Maybe he's going to be the new GM.
I saw a report that last night there was a secret meeting with him and Crosby.
I heard that too. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, the roster needs an overhaul. They got to get better depth. There's just no way around it. So he's got his hands full, whatever he decides to do.
What's he going to do?
I know.
There are so many guys that you can't move.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Terrible contracts. Yeah, Hextall basically was like a Trojan horse coming in from Philadelphia, ruining the franchise. So, yeah.
Honestly, it might have been an inside job, like when Jacoby Jones was a fucking Pittsburgh Steeler. That was an inside job.
It really could have been. I wouldn't rule it past, put it past anybody that played for the Flyers. So yeah,
hell no.
I don't know, but yeah. So if it ends up being Florida and Vegas, who you got in the Stanley Cup? It's a
honestly,
good series.
I think I'd go with Vegas.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're a little bit better. But can Vegas continue to get this goaltending? They've been getting out of these guys out of the
four goalies,
pulling guys out of the seats like they come down and play.
Yeah, they have 4 goalies that are playing, keeping them in this playoffs. But Florida's got the one that's just you need 1 goal for Florida to win. That's it.
Sure. Right now, the way that it is, it looks like a beach ball for Bobrovsky. Yeah, that's the way he's feeling right now. And I think if Florida is a good plus price in the series, I'll probably take a shot with them. I would expect Vegas maybe to win in seven games, but the environment's going to be really cool in Vegas for those games. I know that, and they're going to be favored in this series. But yeah, Bobrovsky, it's hard to dismiss him because he can carry the team. And as you said, if you only got to get 1 goal a night, and if you get 2, you're really sitting good. That's a good spot to be in. So it should be a good series. I know it won't get a lot of eyeballs on it, but it's good for these other markets to be in the Stanley Cup Finals once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
No Canadian teams again. So.
Sorry, they tried again.
Darn. What a shame. All right, let's switch to the best sport. All right, racing it is. So we go to Monaco. Boy, it seems like the F1 boys have been off for months and months. Had the monsoon rains taking care of us in Italy last week, so we didn't have that. But all right, so we go down to the French Riviera, Monaco Grand Prix. Last year it was Sergio Perez won. Is there any way around Red Bull here? Now, I do see that weather is in the forecast. Heavy rains potentially. So could this maybe be the week that we get another winner? Maybe Fernando Alonso in a rainstorm. What do you think?
That's my only hope, is that he can get out in front, and then it's just the weather's the only thing that holds Red Bull back.
And you know how aggressive he can be. So if he can get out there, I think he's got a legitimate chance.
Yeah, I do too. And they need it bad.
They do.
This is the only thing that could maybe throw a wrench in the season. Maybe.
Right. Yeah,
or at least maybe make F1 kind of exciting, because Matt, it has been boring.
It has been. It's a shame too, because it's so good, but the difference in the cars are so. And you have a few of these teams making a little progress, but they just can't contend with the Red Bull guys. I mean, these guys are just crushing it right now. So I'm hopeful maybe we get some rain, and the track's a little bit different, and some of these guys can move up. I mean, Lando Norris is normally a good runner in the rain, but I don't even know if he can do it with the car that he has. The Mercedes guys are both pretty solid in the rain, so maybe they could be in play. But I don't know. What as far as teams that are good in the bad weather, do you have any faith in Ferrari? I'm not sure I do.
Never. I saw a picture of Carlos Sainz. He was in a charity soccer game, and he had a bandage wrapped around his leg because he got hurt. I have no hope in him.
Oh, he's so soft. Those guys are. They have two of the softest drivers Ferrari does. Pretty boys. Yeah, I won't be backing them, but do you see any... obviously it's tough to do, so we'll give our picks, as it gets a little bit closer. We'll see qualifying and see what the weather is like, but... is it basically Max or Sergio and then possibly Fernando? Is there anybody else you think can contend here?
I mean, I don't even want to say the Mercedes, because every week I see Toto Wolff, he's just saying some shit.
Right.
Hamilton's complaining about the car. They got these upgrades coming, and it never sees the light of day.
Yeah, so, no, you're right.
I just think Red Bull, Aston, maybe Ferrari.
Yeah.
And according to Zach Brown, Oscar Piastri is going to be a world champion too, so for McLaren. So that's all I see too, is him and talking about Piastri and Norris.
He's got some work to do there, but good luck to him. So, all right, folks, stay tuned for the Monaco. We're probably not going to go further than Red Bull, but you never know. Maybe we'll see how things qualify. Maybe Fernando Alonso can steal it. So we'll post the picks on social media for the weekend. Be sure you check that out at the Bettor's Last Stand Twitter and the Pioneer Podcast Twitter. All right, let's stay on open wheel. Let's go to the sandwich race of the day. So you have the Monaco Grand Prix at 7 in the morning, and then you got the Indy 500 around 12:45 Eastern Time, the 107th Indianapolis 500. Now this... when I'm going through, we just went through the Monaco Grand Prix, and we came across about 2 guys, maybe 3, that could possibly win. Now you got a lineup of guys here where I'd say 15 minimum could win this race. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say 10 to 15, no doubt. And it is, when I was doing my notes last night, I couldn't believe how competitive this field was. Honestly, it's like F1. I don't want to say it's last on my list of like racing right now, but it's last.
Yeah, it is, and it's a shame too because it's getting so popular, and it is an incredible, eye-catching sport. So make sure people don't not watch. It's still worth watching, but Sam's right. It's tough to find ways to win money there, and it can be a little bit uncompetitive. But you can also take advantage of that and just keep betting Red Bull double podium, and you can do good. So
that's true.
Yeah, but in IndyCar, I agree, Sam. You got Alex Palou, you got Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon. They're amongst the favorites, but it's hard for me to bet favorites in this race because there's so many guys that bring extra value. You have guys like Elio Castroneves at 40-1, who's won it so many times. Tony Kanaan at 18-1, who's got a good car, good equipment now with the Aero McLaren. I mean, you got some guys you can take a shot with here. Rinus VeeKay 10-1. Alexander Rossi's a guy I bet every year for this. I won't be doing it this year. He's too low.
He's won it.
He drives me nuts now. I don't know if he can do it, but he's got McLaren stuff, so he could be good. Who are some of the guys, your top players? Let me ask you this. Out of Palou, Rossi, and Pato O'Ward, and Scott Dixon, amongst those guys, the top 4 betting choices, who's your strongest play out of those 4, if you have one?
I would go with O'Ward.
Yeah.
But every Ganassi car and every Aero McLaren car, I mean, they are absolutely pissing around the track.
And Palou, he broke the speed record, right?
Yeah.
For the qualifying, yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, the fastest lap ever. So will that constitute to a good day of racing? I don't know. But yeah, is it your thought that if these guys can stay out in the clean air up front, that they're going to be hard to beat? Ganassi?
Yeah, because like these McLaren, like Rosenqvist was so close last year, and he was just like when I was watching qualifying this year, he was flying. O'Ward was flying. It's like, man, I think McLaren this year. They really knew last year was a great chance, and they screwed it up. And this year, they're coming.
I had Felix Rosenqvist as one of the guys. I thought at 12-1, that's a good price on him. I feel like he could easily be in that 8-9-1 range as these other guys. So I think he's kind of where it starts for me as far as the price goes of the guys that I'll be taking a shot with. He was the number one guy that I had circled. Him and Rinus VeeKay both are in that neighborhood.
Yeah, Rinus was flying in qualifying.
And Rinus was really good at the other oval track this year at Texas. He ran really well there. So, I mean, if that translates at all to this, maybe it does to some regard. But I thought him and Rosenqvist were the 2 guys that I'm going to be pretty high on. And then I gotta play Tony Kanaan. I really do. And then probably Castroneves at 40-1. And then what are your thoughts on Will Power and Penske? Do you think they have anything for? I mean, Newgarden as well. He won at Texas, so. Maybe he's a factor here, but I think Will Power could be dangerous at 16-17-1.
Yeah, I do too. And the thing is, like I said when we met in person, I thought based off of nothing that Newgarden, this was going to be the year for the 500 that he's going to get it. And I don't think Penske's bringing it this year.
Yeah,
I think they're 14th and like 10th. Him and McLaughlin qualified or something like that.
Yeah, and then I don't even know where Will Power was. I just kind of put him in there. He's kind of this veteran. He's got enough experience. Him, Kanaan, Castroneves, multiple winner type guys that you don't ever want to overlook. But no, I agree with you. I think that Penske could be vulnerable. What do you think of Marcus Ericsson? I mean, it's tough to repeat. He got a little bit of good fortune last year. He had a really good car. I mean, I don't see why he can't contend, but I'll probably pass on him this year. Unless his price can go up. He's 11-1. I guess that's kind of fair. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, these Ganassi cars, man, Ganassi's always given his drivers a good car, especially for this race in particular.
Right.
I don't know if two Indy 500s in a row. I mean, obviously it can be done, but
yeah, I know, not an easy thing.
It'll be tough.
So
Will Power was 12th, I believe.
Oh, 12th. Okay, that's not bad. All right, so let me ask you this. I got these odds off of Unibet, I think, is where I wrote them down at. So a Ganassi car to win the race, plus 180. They're the favorites amongst the teams. McLaren, the second choice, at plus 255, and Penske at plus 550. If you have to go with one of those teams, Ganassi, Penske, or McLaren, where are you going?
I think McLaren.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
I probably would because I like Rosenqvist. And then O'Ward I think will be very strong. Yeah, I would probably lean towards McLaren too.
Just the lineup McLaren's bringing is strong.
I'll probably be, and I get it. It's probably priced correctly, but Penske's probably I have the least faith in them. And I also got to say McLaren maybe an X factor too. You get Kanon in that group too, which he's not running every week. But yeah, so yeah, I think McLaren at plus 255 that might be a bet. So that's the number 5, the number 6, the number 7, and the number 66 for Mario Lemieux. So yeah, also known as Tony Kanon. So yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good bet. You get 4 cars there at plus 255, not bad. Ganassi maybe just a little bit too low of a price on them at plus 180. And then yeah, I mean Roger Penske, it's hard to ever really discount them, but yeah. I don't know. Any long shots to you? Anybody stick out? Anybody that may? Simon Pagenaud and Takuma Sato were 2 guys. Sato's won it twice. He's Ganassi. Simon Pagenaud's won it, and he's 40-1. I thought maybe, but I don't know if he has the team to be able to get him there this year.
Those were the only 2 names I was going to bring up, Matt.
Okay.
Pagenaud and Takuma Sato.
Well, we're on the same page with that. Here's 2 matchups that I thought were pretty strong. Elio Castroneves over Marco Andretti. I like that one a lot. I know 100%. Marco Andretti's just he's
nowhere.
I mean, he's just living off of his dad and his grandpa. Like he's terrible compared to those guys. I don't know. People see Andretti in open wheel and they automatically play him, but I don't know. I feel like Castroneves at a head-to-head matchup minus 115. I think that's a really good value there. So that's one that I'll be putting on social media for sure. And then the other one, guy we just talked about, a longer shot, Simon Pagenaud over Ryan Hunter-Reay. What do you think of Ryan Hunter-Reay's chances?
They're slim. I saw an article that was posted 2 hours ago that he just got funding for this race.
Yeah,
so.
See, I just... Pagenaud is minus 110. That's a dead even matchup. I think that's a good play. So those are 2 that I like. Any other guys under the radar? Anybody that you would say that's maybe a rookie or a guy that's not been in the 500 very many times that you think can maybe outperform, or anybody? Roman Grosjean.
I mean, maybe Grosjean. Like Ferrucci was awesome. I'm excited to see like what he can do.
Yep. Yeah.
Like Connor.
I looked at him pretty good. That Santino Ferrucci. I thought maybe that he could be sneaky in some plays. How about Connor Daly or Colton Herta?
Yeah, like Daly finished 6th last year, but I hate to say this. It's like whenever I see Connor Daly race in like the Cup Series, he just like is always like last or a lap down.
Really cheapens
and that, like,
his talent.
Skews my perspective.
Right.
Skews my perspective.
Yeah, no, I
think he's not going to have a good start.
I couldn't agree more. How about Stingray Robb?
I love that name.
That's incredible. Awesome is that it's name? An incredible name. I mean, this guy was born to be something, either extreme sports or racing or something. Stingray Robb. I mean, really nuts.
Yeah.
I don't think he has
his
much chance.
Chances are great, but if you were to win a title just based off of a name, Stingray Robb.
He's a runaway winner in that capacity
for sure.
And then how about let's finish it up with the old veteran Ed Carpenter. Think he can get another top 20. He just grinds it out, and you know what? He'll be grinding along, and they'll say Ed Carpenter having a good run. He's in 16th, and then a few laps later, he's in the wall on fire.
Yep, front splitters crack.
Right. Yeah.
No. Maybe a top 20, but
yeah, I hear you.
Just go out there and complete the race, and don't wreck the car.
All right, so put you on the spot. Who's your winner? Who's taking it home?
Rosenqvist.
I'm with you. I like him too. All right.
Rosenqvist.
So Rosenqvist, he'll probably get crashed the first lap.
Yeah, lap 4, wheel will fall off.
Yeah. All right. So you heard it here. Well, I'll get Sam's finalized picks and put them up on social media for the weekend. So hopefully everybody enjoys the Indy 500. There's nothing like it. The pageantry alone and watching all the stuff go on is really one of the best days of the year for race fans. And it doesn't end there. So we end the Indy 500 and we get ready for the Coke 600. I thought it was always cool back in the old days when Tony Stewart and those guys would do both races. John Andretti, and they'd helicopter from Indianapolis to Charlotte. I mean, and drive literally 1,100 miles on a track in the same
Kurt
day.
Busch did it, didn't he?
Yeah, Kurt Busch. Yeah, it's really cool. These guys are warriors, and it's really cool. So, all right, Charlotte Motor Speedway, 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. Race will be on Fox. Should be a really contentious field here. You got Denny Hamlin, the defending champion. Opening thought. Actually, let me ask you this before we talk about this week's race. What were your thoughts about the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro? from my perspective, it was cool to see the old track being used again. But I didn't love the format of the race, and I thought it was a little bit boring. Larson obviously really strong, but what were your thoughts? It was neat to see back in North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, it was great. They have to keep that track around.
Definitely.
It definitely didn't have a lot of juice once the race started, though. It definitely seemed like the race was over very, very quick.
Yeah, it was a little quick. Yeah,
but,
I'd like to have seen it be a long battle, like a actual points race. I feel like would have been better.
I also saw some people suggesting that maybe they take away the Coliseum and put dirt on there, and I think that that's a terrible idea. I don't think they should ever race on any dirt.
Nah, I agree with that. I agree. I think that was like something you do once every 10 years. I've had enough of that. We talk about it every Easter at Bristol. It's like it was cool one time, and that's it. I don't need to see it anymore. Let's let these guys. Bristol's just too good of a track. In North Wilkesboro, that track's cool. It's got such unique dimensions with the uphill and the downhill and different parts of the track. I mean, don't waste that with dirt. Like I'd love to see a points race there. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think we'd see a totally different race if there was something on the line there.
No, 100%. I agree. I thought it was lost her a little bit just because of that, but it's good to see it. It's good to see compared to what that speedway was a few years ago and what Dale Jr. and those guys did to help get it going again. That's pretty neat. So hopefully they can get a date at some point. I know that's highly coveted as some of the other tracks maybe be threatened by, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's just such a tough area to have a lot of people in, but
yeah, they say it's tough to get to.
Yeah, I'll say, geez, right, literally in the middle of nowhere. It's crazy. But all right, let's get back to the 600. Opening thoughts. Who's the guy to beat here? Is it Larson? Is it Kyle Busch? Is it Denny Hamlin? Where are you going? Who's your money on early, or who are you leaning towards?
I'm leaning towards the guy that's hated most right now, and that's Ross Chastain.
I got him circled too. Yeah,
I just think, Matt, it's a guarantee. He reminds me, terrible comparison of like Jimmy Butler, but every race, every game, you're getting 100% effort.
No question.
100%, and he's going to run the shit out of that car until he can't anymore, and people can't handle it, and they always say they're going to do something. They never do it. He's finished good here before.
Yep.
I just think him and Reddick are my two that I keep looking at.
Reddick's a good price this week, I think. 16-1 in that range, I think is pretty fair. Chastain at 10. Larson just way underpriced as far as his opening odds. Plus 450. I just can't take that. I know 2 years ago he absolutely dominated that race. I mean, he led literally every lap. But with these new cars now, I think things are going to be a little bit more even. I don't love him at plus 450. I mean, he could easily win. You know who I expect a big effort out of this week? And his price isn't great, but I think Chase Elliott will run really well here. I think he's due to have a kind of I'm back kind of moment here as he continues to get back to after the injury. But what do you think of his chances?
Yeah, I actually had him and maybe Byron as a watch these two because Byron hasn't raced very well here, and I don't know. I just feel like those Hendrick cars.
Oh yeah,
I'm kind of ready to see him back up in the front again.
Yeah, I would expect a big effort out of them. William Byron arguably could be considered the best driver on the circuit so far. Thus, at this point in the season, he's been great. I want to get your opinion on this. I thought this was a major misprice. I don't know, maybe the internal information is bad enough to make it this price. Chase Briscoe, 100-1 to win this race. He ran really well here. He had a top 5 last year. 100-1?
Matt, I don't know. I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that was a mistype.
I looked at like 6 different places and I'm like, because at our place, at my job, I'm looking and I'm going through these this morning to make sure that the prices are right. And I was like, whoa, that's got to be wrong. And I'm like, well, it wouldn't have been 10-1. It wouldn't have been low enough for that. But I was thinking like 30 or 40. But 100, I mean, you're putting him in the same range as Ryan Preece and these guys. Like I even thought Chris Buescher at 100. I know Charlotte's a tough track, but Briscoe's run well there. I think on principle alone, I'll take a shot with him. Just on that 100-1. I mean, that's nuts. I mean, and this is a guy who was a playoff guy last year. Like I know he's had a bad year. He has, but for his standards. But all it takes, and this is a really big race, and you know this well, and a lot of our listeners may not, but next to the Daytona 500, this 600 is one of the biggest premier races on the circuit, and one that the guys really want to win.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge for teams like the Stenhouse, McDowell, Buescher, those type of teams.
Oh, yeah.
Like Stenhouse was 7th here last year. He's ran well this year at some speedways, and he's had some good finishes. What are you thinking of him? I'm just torn on
I think he's definitely a guy. He's 100-1 also. I think that's ludicrous. I don't know what happened here. I know this is a very there's a lot of intricacies in the 600-mile race that a lot of these veterans benefit from, and their odds are reduced because of that. But and obviously when you have a reduction in a lot of guys' odds, you're going to have an inflation in other guys. But I thought, I agree. I think Stenhouse is a definite guy, a guy worth taking a shot at, and even as a top 10. I mean, you're going to get really good prices on him and Briscoe for top 10 runs here. And you have other guys who have run well here who have had bad seasons. Austin Dillon's one. I mean, he's 100-1. I mean, there's another guy. I mean, I think Austin Dillon might have won this race before, but he was close to. He might have got beat just late, but had a good car. I find it amazing. Austin Cindric, a member of a good team. I know the Fords haven't been great here. I even thought Brad Keselowski at 40-1. I thought he was worth a look. He's ran well here in the past, and his team seems to be improving. But yeah, I think there's some value here. I know it'll probably happen. Is Larson or Elliott will probably dominate this race. I mean, Martin Truex dominated it a few years ago, not with this car, but the old
How do you
model.
feel on him?
I like him, but I think 850 is just too low for him. I was hoping you could get him 11 or 12-1, but and I maybe take a shot. Kyle Busch at 11-1 is worth a look, I think. And then Harvick at 18. He's dying to win one last race, and he would really like to do it here, I'm sure. I mean, a big spotlight
he
race.
He needs one bad.
Yeah. Do you think between Denny and Larson, who do you feel better about entering this week?
Larson.
Yeah,
Larson.
I agree. And I agree with you. Tyler Reddick, I thought, was a good play at 16-1. I think he's very live. But yeah, I'm looking for something big out of Chase Elliott this week. I think I'll be taking him. I agree with you on Ross Chastain too. Any other long shots? I know we covered it. I mean, it doesn't get much longer in NASCAR than 100-1. I mean, you got guys in there. I mean, anybody? Joey Logano. He's been weird here at this track, and he's not been running very well. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at him because he's such a good driver, but nothing stood out to me like I can have some confidence in Joey Logano.
Yeah, I would say that the Penske's have not been great at this track, if recent memory serves me. This has been a Hendrick and Chevy domination, and occasionally the Toyotas get mixed in there too. Denny winning last year, Truex a few years ago, as I mentioned earlier. But I don't know. The Fords weren't very good. I'm looking at the last year, just glancing at last year's results. The Fords were not very good, and maybe that's something that they got aerodynamically that's not been very good. Even consistent guys like Ryan Blaney ran bad. Keselowski was way down there. Cindric way down there. Buescher way down there. Yeah, you had a lot of guys that really, really struggled. But Joey Logano is a hard guy to pass on at 22-1. But yeah, I don't know. I probably don't see a Ford winning this race. Any other observations? Anybody else that you're is Bowman going to be back this week? I heard that he's possible.
He's
still going to be out. Okay. Yeah, because
I'm looking here. Last year, Harrison Burton was 11th. I don't think he's going to be a top 10.
No,
I cannot believe, man. I'm just looking at the Dillon, Stenhouse, and Briscoe. Those guys, their odds. If you have $5,
$5. I mean,
put it on them.
Yeah, I mean it's a $500 win you get. I mean, and those guys. I mean, I know it's unlikely, but it's not impossible, and they all have good enough teams that they could win. So, and anything can happen.
I'd put it on Ricky out of any of them, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, I highly recommend that. 500-1 on Stenhouse. I mean, all right. So let's get your pick. Are you going with Chastain as your winning pick?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And I'm gonna go with Chase Elliott. I don't know. It's like one of those ones. It's like it's a hunch. Like I don't know. For whatever reason, I just have a hunch he's gonna run well. But I like Chastain.
I forgot he was kind of back. It might be one of those like, hey, I'm back.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking because he, say what you want. There's guys on his team. He's got Byron and Larson winning left and right now, and it's pissing him off a little bit. So he's definitely wanting to make a splash here. So I like him this week. But any other guys that we didn't touch on? Michael McDowell ran well here last year, but I don't know if. How about Chris Bell? What do you think about him?
I have him in my category, but the Chastain, Reddick, and Larson stood out way ahead of me, or ahead to me than Christopher Bell did. Agreed.
Yeah, I like Bell. I think he's a really good all around racer. But I agree. I'd probably pass on him this week. How about I think he won this race at least. Geez, I don't even know, eight times, or at least one at this track. Jimmy Johnson. He's supposed to be in the field. What do you think of his chances?
I don't think they're good.
Dead last.
Not yet.
No, honestly, he'll beat Cody Ware and those guys. But
maybe.
Maybe Corey LaJoie might be live against him.
Yeah, that whole team is in a weird place.
Yeah,
like the Motorsports or whatever they are, Motor Club.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them. Eric Jones. I mean, I don't think he's a bad racer. How about before we wrap it up, a guy that I think has been disappointing this season. Greatly disappointing has been Daniel Suarez. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a really talented driver. What are your thoughts on him? He ran pretty well at North Wilkesboro, but in the points races he's struggled. He's had a lot of bad luck. Do you think he turns it around? I mean, he's obviously getting good equipment. He's got the same stuff Chastain's got, and last year he ran really well. What do you think his problem is so far?
I don't know. I really don't know. I look at upcoming races like that Chicago street course.
Right.
Like maybe that's one where he can figure something out. He wanted Coda and those.
He's really good.
Tracks, but
he's really good at those tracks where you do a lot of shifting. I noticed that too. He's pretty good on the short tracks, and I was expecting him to kind of kick it in gear with Martinsville, Richmond, and that. But maybe going to take him a road course and street course to get him going. But I think you can eventually, if you can get on the right side of him, his prices are starting to drift up. Like he was in the 20s. 20 to 1s, high teens early in the season off of last year's success. Now he's drifting up into the 30s and 40s. So if we can find the right spot to play him in and get hot, we could get a really good price on him. So hopefully we'll be able to spot that. Any last observations on the 600 or any of the other things we didn't cover on the racing day on Sunday?
It's potentially the best racing weekend of the year.
Surely.
So you gotta enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation.
From the moment you get up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep at night, you got action pretty much. And
all day.
Let's just hope for the F1 it won't matter, but let's hope for good weather in the other two, because there's nothing worse than that when you're getting up on that Memorial Day Sunday and you start looking at the weather in Indy and the weather in Charlotte, and it's like there's rain in the forecast, and you're like, oh no. It's the worst thing that could happen. I hate those Monday finishes, although it wouldn't be as bad this week because of the holiday, but still. Let's pray for good weather, at least in two of the tracks. The two run in North America.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. All right, Sammy. Any last thoughts on anything else sports related that we haven't covered today, or are we ready to send off for the day and start getting ready for the weekend?
I think we're ready to send off. I don't have much. I don't have a lot of positivity in the baseball field because my team is
already a loss on the. In the standings for us today already, so
we're real close to back where we're at 500. So that's a shame.
Yeah, but
luckily,
faith.
I have screenshots at every time we've been in first place, so I have
good.
proof that it.
Hold on to those
as
it gets lonely in the summer here as the days drag on.
Yeah,
so all right, buddy. Well, hey, it was great having you back. Good to see you. As I mentioned, we'll be off the next 2 weeks again. So, but. Your picks are always available, folks, so be sure and check us out on social media. Sam's stuff's always there. He's always communicating with me, letting me know what he's going with, so keep tailing him. He continues to put winners up for us, and we are hopeful for some winners this week. Sam, have a good weekend. Enjoy the racing. I'll be talking to you, and we'll see you back here in the studio on the Skype hotline in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. Matt, you have a wonderful weekend. It was great talking to you, man.
Great talking to you as always. All right, that's Sam, our racing analyst. We will be back with him in a couple of weeks after a couple more vacations by me. Appreciate him joining the show as always. He does a wonderful job breaking down all the racing. He's really into that. Just great to get another mind in the studio here to talk to us, virtually in the studio, I guess. But great stuff from him. He knows his stuff, can talk about pretty much anything, as you heard. Baseball, hockey, basketball, everything. So that'll do it for us here on Bettor's Last Stand. Matt with you, solo. I'll be back here in a couple of weeks. But be sure and follow our picks on social media. Check us out on the Watchdogs 7 hours a week. Got our podcast coming out every Thursday. Jub does a great job with everything. Check out that store. Contact at thepineroodpodcast.com is the email. And we look forward to hearing from you. And the more fan involvement we get, the happier we are. Love to talk betting or horse racing or anything you want to talk about. We'll be happy to indulge. So have a great weekend. Enjoy the races. Enjoy the playoff action if it's still going by then. And enjoy the baseball. We will be back here on Bettor's Last Stand in a couple of weeks. Good luck, and we will see you soon.